small, tranquil village of Nagbe, nestled between rolling hills and lush fields, lived a young woman named Naa Ayorkor. Known for her restless spirit, Naa Ayorkor was always in a hurry, always chasing after something more. Whether it was her dreams, her career, or a life outside the quiet town, she felt time slipping away, like grains of sand through her fingers. Her father, Papa Ni, was the complete opposite. He was calm, wise, and patient, the village's trusted blacksmith. With every strike of his hammer, he shaped the iron with precision and care. Naa Ayorkor, on the other hand, was eager to leave Nakbi behind. She would often tell her father, "Papa, I need to be in the city. There's so much to see, so much to do. Time is precious, and I can't afford to waste it here." Papa Ni would smile gently, his weathered hands still working the forge.
Patience, my daughter. Time is a quiet force. It is not a race.
But Naa Ayorkor didn't understand. She wanted to move fast. She believed the world outside Nagbi was where success awaited. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, a traveler arrived in Nagbi. He was unlike anyone Naa Ayorkor had ever seen. His presence was commanding, like the stillness before a storm. He didn't carry a staff or a walking stick, but a simple, well-worn bag slung over his shoulder. The bag seemed to hold an air of mystery, and the traveler himself exuded an aura of calm confidence that contrasted sharply with the bustling energy of the village. His eyes were dark and steady, yet they held an ancient wisdom that made everyone pause when he spoke. The villagers whispered about him, but he spoke little, only offering cryptic advice to those who sought it. His words were sharp, yet gentle, carrying an undercurrent of truth that only the wise could understand. Naa Ayorkor, feeling her impatience rising again, could not resist the urge to seek him out. "Wise traveler," she asked, her voice filled with urgency. "I have dreams to achieve, a life to build. How can I make time work for me? I can't afford to wait." The traveler turned to her, his gaze piercing, as though he had already known the question she would ask. He didn't speak immediately, only studied her for what felt like an eternity. Finally he replied, his voice calm, but carrying weight with every word.
Child,
He said, his eyes unblinking.
you believe time is something you can conquer, but it is not your servant. Time is a river, constant yet slow. You cannot force it to move faster, but if you learn to let it flow, it will carry you to where you need to go.
Naa Ayorkor's brow furrowed. "I can't wait. I need results now." The traveler's lips curved into a slight, knowing smile, but he said nothing more. Instead, he reached into his bag and pulled out a small, ornate pocket watch. He handed it to her.
This watch will show you the truth of time, but be warned, it will only reveal its secret when you have learned to be still.
Naa Ayorkor took the watch reluctantly. She was about to argue, but the traveler had already turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving behind only the weight of his words. With a mixture of skepticism and curiosity, Naa Ayorkor carried the watch with her to the city. She worked tirelessly, pushing herself harder each day, convinced that her impatience was the key to success. But as the days turned into weeks, she began to feel something she hadn't expected: exhaustion. Despite all her effort, the life she imagined seemed farther and farther out of reach. Her job felt like a dead end, and the relationships she tried to build were strained by her constant rush. One evening, as she sat alone in her apartment, she remembered the traveler's words and pulled out the pocket watch. To her shock, The hands of the watch were frozen in place. No ticking, no movement, just stillness. Frustrated, she shook the watch, but it remained unmoved. Suddenly, the world around her seemed to stop as well. In that silence, Naa Ayorkor felt a deep, unsettling clarity. It wasn't that time had betrayed her. It was that she had never truly understood it. She had been fighting against something that was never meant to be rushed. Determined to understand the traveler's lesson, she returned to Nagby, humbled and eager to seek guidance from her father. When she arrived at Papa Nee's forge, the soft rhythmic sound of his hammer on the anvil greeted her like an old familiar song. "Papa," she began, her voice softer than it had ever been. "I've been rushing through life, thinking that success would come faster if I pushed hard enough. But now I see that time doesn't bend to our will. How do I change?" Papa Nee paused his work and wiped his brow. He looked at her with the same steady eyes, his expression one of quiet understanding.
You've been trying to outrun time, my daughter. But like the iron, it must be shaped slowly. Each strike of the hammer matters, but none of them are rushed. It's the patience in the process that makes it strong,
He said, placing the iron on the anvil. Naa Ayorkor watched her father, the rhythmic strike of his hammer echoing in the quiet space. She understood now. Success wasn't about rushing to the finish line. It was about taking time to build something solid, something meaningful. "But how do I stop feeling like time is slipping away?" she asked, her voice filled with new uncertainty. Papa Nee smiled softly, placing the iron into the fire.
Time is never lost, Naa Ayorkor. It's always there, waiting for us to understand it. Trust it, and it will carry you to where you need to go.
That night, Naa Ayorkor kept the pocket watch by her side. As she lay down to sleep, she noticed something. It had started ticking again, slowly but steadily, just as time should be. The lesson was clear. In patience, in stillness, time reveals its secrets. Naa Ayorkor returned to the city, but this time with a calmness she hadn't known before. She took things one step at a time, building her life with care and wisdom. And slowly but surely, everything she had hoped for began to fall into place. And the mysterious traveler? No one in Nagby ever saw him again. But Naa Ayorkor knew that, in some way, his presence had never truly left. The traveler had left behind not just a watch, but a deeper understanding of time itself. The moral lesson is that time is not something to be rushed or controlled. It is a force that flows steadily, and when we learn to trust it, it reveals its truth. Only in stillness can we truly understand its power. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment.